What's growing on, gardeners? On today's 2-minute garden tip, I'm going to show you how to make free drip irrigation out of an old leaky bucket. Whoa! Remember when these 5-gallon paint buckets were cheap? When they would break, it was no big deal. Let's get another one. But now when they break, I have to pull out the credit card. Well, guess what? When these break, it's not necessarily a bad thing. A little crack like this can actually turn this into your own little drip irrigator for trees. Drip irrigation is so much better than overhead watering. Because you target a little pinhole area, all of that water penetrates deeply into the soil and it deeply waters plants while minimizing evaporation. When you overhead water, because it's spread over such a large surface area, as soon as the sun comes up, that evaporates and you wind up losing so much of the water that you put down. Also, it doesn't splash the soil and spread around fungal diseases. So when you drip irrigate, you wind up using a tiny fraction of the amount of water to water more efficiently, and you have less disease in your garden to show for it. But the downside of drip irrigation is it can be a pain to set up because it requires a lot of unique parts and a little bit of design effort on your part. So because of that, a lot of people just wind up avoiding it. That's why a simple drip irrigation method like this is so great. There's about 2.5 gallons of water in this bucket right here. Now watch what happens when I apply it to this fig tree. If I just lazily water like this, all of that water is running away. So I would have to sit here and very slowly target water like this. So this is quite annoying and wasteful. So let's say I want to water this fig tree right here. Well, I placed 2 bricks right here so I can show you just how well this broken bucket will work as a drip irrigator. So let's get that bucket off the ground just like that. And I'm going to fill it up with 4 gallons of water. And check out that makeshift drip irrigation right there. That little crack in the bucket is going to slowly water that tree deeply. So instead of having all of that water run off, it easily targets the area and it absorbs deeply. But that's not all you can do with this setup. What if you want to fertilize your tree? Well, let's take 1.5 tablespoons of Jack's 20-20-20, and then let's also take some Alaska fish fertilizer. We will shake that up and we'll pour a couple of tablespoons of fish fertilizer into the water, and then we'll just take a big stick and stir it up until everything dissolves. And now we've made ourselves a fertigation drip irrigation station. So this is a way that you can deeply fertilize your plants as well as irrigate them. Approximately half the fertilizer has been dripped onto this initial tree, and this tree over here is a little bit behind for the season. So let's move it over and we'll place the rest of the fertilizer over here. And hopefully this will help this tree get a better jump on the season. And of course, if you don't have your own 5-gallon bucket that happened to crack at the exact perfect spot, you can just go to any Lowe's, Home Depot, or Walmart and buy a 5-gallon paint bucket and take a very small drill bit and drill a pinhole about 1 inch from the bottom of the bucket. And then just go to the general root area of your tree and set it down. And that will give you your own little homemade DIY drip irrigation and fertigation setup for very little money and no complicated setup. But that being said, if you do want to install real drip irrigation around your yard and garden, I will link to a playlist both above and down in the video description that is a comprehensive guide to install drip irrigation in almost any setup you need. And that's today's 2-minute garden tip. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell to receive new video notifications, and check out our Amazon storefront and spread shop in the video description for a list of the gardening products I use and awesome custom designed apparel and other gear. Your support is greatly appreciated.